Today we're driving the new 2020 Nissan Sentra. This is an SR painted in Monarch Orange Metallic. The MSRP on this is $21,430. The new Sentra is powered by a 2-liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder engine that makes 149 horsepower and 146 pound-feet of torque. That's mated to a CVT transmission. Gas mileage is pretty decent, with 20 mpg in the city, 37 on the highway, and 32 miles to the gallon combined. This SR is also equipped with 18-inch wheels wrapped in 215/45 series tires. The curb weight on this is 3,084 pounds. Nissan has done a really great job with the design on this car, inside and out. On the interior, Nissan's zero-gravity seats are very comfortable and supportive, even under hard cornering. And adding to the sportiness of the cabin is a D-shaped steering wheel and what Nissan calls GTR-inspired vents. After driving this car, I'm really surprised with the suspension and handling balance. This Sentra rides on a new platform with multi-link independent rear suspension and has a really cool and impressive dual-pinion rack electric power steering system. It also has active ride control and trace control paired to a very good dynamic stability control system. All these systems work together to create a really nice ride handling balance. All Sentras now also come standard with Nissan's Safety Shield 360. This includes 6 active safety features: front automatic emergency braking with pedestrian detection, rear emergency braking, blind spot and lane departure warning systems, rear cross traffic alert, and high beam assist. From first impressions, this looks to be a pretty compelling step up for the Sentra. Let's get behind the wheel. Okay, let's take this Sentra for a drive. We're on a spirited back road here. And one of the most impressive things that we found about this car today is just how well it handles and how nicely the suspension is damped over bumps and around corners. It really has a lot of stability, a lot of confidence. There's a sport mode button down here, kind of hidden in the transmission gear selector. Raises your RPMs by about 500 to 1,000 RPMs. A little bit better throttle response. There's never really that much power, but the delivery is so smooth and consistent that does mask some of your acceleration. There isn't a lot of steering feel. It weights up a little bit around corners, but overall you're getting most of your communication through the chassis, and there is a lot of mechanical grip. So you really do feel confident driving this thing around some corners. Brakes are pretty good. We'll do a little brake test here. Hold on, Charlie. And then acceleration, we found it's actually quicker to accelerate if you don't brake torque it. So we'll just off the line. Actually, that was pretty miserable. I'm not really sure.
Try from a dead stop, let the transmission settle a sec. You're probably got a pretty good gap, and then maybe try manual.
There we go, that's better. And that is one positive I've found with the CVT is actually pretty quick off the line, which is nice. Cool. So if you need to pull out into traffic, you're not going to be waiting for that engine to respond and give you power. At speed, there's not a lot of wind noise. You get a little bit of a lower frequency over bumps from these 18-inch wheels, but for the most part, NVH in this Sentra is really impressive. even though you do need to rev this engine out to get some power out of it, it doesn't quite feel strained like CVTs used to, and there's so much isolation between the cabin and the engine that you really do feel like it's working in the background, and it's a smooth powertrain too. There's not a lot of vibration. Charlie, what are your thoughts here?
I think that large heave bump that we went over, the fact that it damped it so well, but yet the car didn't feel thrown off by it at all. A lot of cars, we really felt that come through the cabin. And, I mean, you're hustling it seemingly effortlessly.
Do you think this is kind of class-leading suspension tuning? Because that's really the big surprise for me here.
I think so too. I have yet to find a car in this class that handles so competently. I mean, the Volkswagen Golf is very good, but I'd say it's a little bit lazier and a little bit more subdued than this. This strikes a nice balance between sporty and comfortable in all sorts of situations.
This reminds me a lot of the Mazda 3 and the new Mazda 3, which is a little bit more comfort, a little bit more luxury oriented, but I don't think the steering has as much feedback and feel, and of course it's a different drivetrain between the two cars, but it has that same low-slung, wide, confident stance and character. And behind the wheel, I feel like I can kind of take those turns with the same amount of confidence. And there's also a nice level of refinement here that those two cars seem to share.
I agree. The interior packaging really makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's simple. It's a tried and true formula. And Nissan's been making Sentras and Versas and Altimas for years now, obviously, but they didn't screw anything up. It's a very, you got good cup holders that are out of the way of the driver, you got a good shifter, good, easy to find start-stop button, you got like kind of a little compartment here for whatever, really deep center console.
A massive center console. It's almost truck sized.
Yeah, you know, people love to put anything and everything down there, be lost for years until you sell the car and give it to the next owner.
Oh, I like to be able to fit a camera in there. You could fit almost an 80 to 200 in there. It's pretty big.
There you go. I like this just big rubberized center area here for devices or chapstick, whatever you want to throw their wallet in. They didn't try anything too hard and fail, but yet they did enough to make it feel like you're getting something out of buying a new car.
Yep, that's true. There aren't really any weird sporty gimmicks here.
Yep.
This is looking kind of upscale, but it feels a little bit cheap.
Mm-hmm.
The steering wheel material isn't the best, but I think it's going to wear well and it's going to age well over time once you get some hand grease on here. And
I do like how none of these materials are going to age poorly. This piano black might, but you're not going to touch this all too often.
Sure.
Whereas this area where phones are going to be sitting and everything, this isn't going to get worn down. This material though is a little bit reminiscent of that design we saw in the Hyundai Elantra gauges.
Yeah, it's just that faux plastic
racy,
carbon fiber.
Yeah, super fake looking carbon fiber.
Which is okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
Guess I can pass this guy.
Go Elantra, Sentra, go. Cut that out.
I liked your horn test.
Yeah, we'll do that. Jeez, I hope that's pre-production.
Yeah.
That is bad.
Yeah, that's a glaring omission. Visibility overall on this Sentra is pretty good. However, rearward you do get this kind of hump in the back of the car, and it does impede your visibility a little bit. If you raise your driving height and kind of adjust the mirror accordingly, it's a little bit better, but sometimes it's hard to see the lower bumpers of cars following you a little bit closer.
The Sentra is missing out on a few key pieces of sort of features and technology that may not matter to you whatsoever as a shopper, or might be really important. For example, wireless device charging. If you have a phone that doesn't support wireless charging, you couldn't care less, but you're not going to find it on any model of the Sentra. You're also, even on this top level trim, you don't have automatic dimming mirror, which again, very easy to just reach up. And I say these things not necessarily as a detriment to Nissan. I almost kind of like that they decided to keep the cost down a bit by focusing on nice materials and a nice driving car and taking away some of those, I would almost say, superfluous sort of features that...
It's not stuff you need.
No, it really isn't. I don't mind just reaching out and flicking the mirror when
Yeah.
I need to have it dimmed.
It
or
works every time.
Or, you know, so yes, are there things that competitors offer that the Sentra doesn't? Yes, but at the same time, you're getting a desirable car for less money, and I think there's a lot to be said for that.
100%. I wanted to talk a little bit about why you would buy a compact sedan in this market versus a crossover. Something that's a little bit bigger, a little bit taller. There are some inherent advantages to a sedan. I think they look a little bit better. They're more aerodynamic. They're a little bit cheaper, a little bit less expensive.
You're not going to get a compact crossover that drives the way this does over those roads that we just did.
No way. There's no crossover that handles like this.
Nope.
I mean, this is... The suspension in this is amazing, what it can do with ride quality and handling. You know, it's not a sports car, it's not a sporty sedan, but from the passenger seat, hustling some of these roads, you wouldn't know that. It's pretty amazing how well set up the suspension is. Definitely one of the... It bodes well for future Nissan model suspension tuning. So
I also think it would have been tough for Nissan to design, or any manufacturer to design an SUV to be as quiet as this is in terms of wind noise.
That's right. Yeah, there's very, very little wind noise, even at 70, 80 miles an hour. Check out this grip, though, around this 90-degree corner here. It's pretty impressive. And one of my favorite things, too, is the stability control works so far in the background, you almost don't notice it happening. You can feel it making slight corrections when you start to lose grip, but there's no sudden break in power or cut in, you know, the driving experience. There's no lurching or anything. It's a really smooth, seamless stability control. And I think that's how stability control should be these days. We don't need to have these invasive, intrusive systems that interrupt you and kind of add to the scary situation that you may be in.
I also appreciate that going around a corner like you just did, it manages to not have it understeer too dramatically.
Sure.
It keeps the car relatively neutral. There's no lift off oversteer, but you also didn't just plow right straight forward.
Very neutral for a front-wheel drive car. Yeah, It's a very solid neutral feeling to this. I don't know if there's a little bit of brake force distribution going on or torque vectoring or something like that, but it corners really, really well.
I could definitely see myself dailying this car.
Sure.
More so than other cars in this class. It wouldn't be the most interesting car that one could own. Absolutely not. But when you're talking about the price point, the features, the comfortability, and sort of the just buy it, forget about it sort of idea, it's a pretty strong option. And we just passed a previous generation Sentra, and this one looks so much better.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I think walking out to this car in a parking lot, even a year after ownership, you'd be like, that's a sharp car, you know, or pull up to a date or something like that. They're gonna go, oh wow, that's a Nissan? I'm gonna take a ride up this road here. You've got 2.5 miles on this, and there's gonna be a stop. We go over some railroad tracks and then a stop on right turn on 36.
Cool. Surprisingly quiet at speed. It really is.
When you get onto a road that takes away some of the tire noise, then it's really, really quiet.
Yeah, the only NVH we're getting is tire noise and a little bit of that, you know, just narrow sidewall intrusion.
Which I will say, often when manufacturers manage to quiet down a lot of a car, little elements that still make noise kind of get exacerbated.
Sure, that's true.
So,
and I'm sure this handles so much better than the car on the 16-inch wheels, for example. You know, 17s might be the perfect medium ground, but there's always a little bit of give and take. But this is a very, very quiet interior. It's amazing how far this class of car has come.
Oh yeah.
In the last 10 years, it's pretty awesome. I would like for them to offer a hybrid variant, but that said, this gets really, really good fuel economy.
I also appreciate how Nissan has a lot of standard safety features in this car, because for about $20,000 in a base model, sure, you might be getting things like steel wheels and no Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, but you're not forcing buyers to decide whether or not they want safety features like automated emergency braking or reverse automated braking, things like that. That sort of standard safety things. Safety items in a new car shouldn't be something reserved for only top-level trims or mid-level trims, and I really appreciate how Nissan said, "Yep, we're going to standardize the safety equipment, and you guys are you're gonna get it for a very low entry price."
And the technology that is here works well. Like the radar-guided cruise control, it's responsive, it's quick to accelerate around slower vehicles. We don't have active lane keeping assist.
But a lot of cars, I find that feature kind of annoying. There are
it's annoying, and
situations
I don't use it
where
anymore.
I use it,
yeah,
and it's impressive. But I usually show it for the video, talk about it, and then turn it off.
Yep.
Some cars I'll use it. Like, and Nissan's Pro Pilot Assist is very good in the Altima.
It is. It's very good. Yeah.
And other vehicles, but I don't think you're really missing out on anything by not having it in this car.
I was really surprised about the difference in base price to the fully loaded premium SV model or SR model. It's not that much. It's only a few $1,000s.
I really don't think there's a reason to buy an S version of this car. I say if you can afford a $20,000 car, then you can afford a $22,000 car.
Yeah.
And just the things you get, the non-steel wheels, the aluminum alloys. I know there were some other features. You get 2 extra speakers. I'm sure the system sounds much better with 6 versus 4 speakers.
Yeah, sound system on this is pretty good, actually. We should do a sound test.
Okay. Yeah, I think the main reason that the S model exists is either for rental fleets or just to have that low base price. But I think interesting call there.
Get it, Cascada.
If you're a consumer for this car, do yourself a favor and just don't consider the S. Spend a few extra $1,000s and get a nice, very nicely equipped SV model.
Let's do a little sound test here. I do think this is one of the better sound systems in this class.
Yeah, it'd be hard to find one that's better.
It's really clear.
The bass sounds aren't coming through as though there were a strong subwoofer or anything, but they're nicely weighted. I mean, you're not going to get the really, really strong notes, but for easy listening music and like that song you were playing before, it comes through crisp.
Yeah.
Next road, you're taking a left.
Okay, cool.
It's a small road.
So to sum things up on the Sentra, really nicely equipped. Some features that people may really appreciate. I think they've done a really nice balance of things that you need or want, and they haven't given you stuff that's a little bit superfluous and frivolous. They've kept the price low, which is really important, and it's a nice driving experience. So overall, pretty good package. You're low on power. You're not going to get that necessarily the sportiness of the Mazda 3, but it's close. Anything to add to that?
No, I think you summed it up well. I think it's like we said about the Ford Escape. I'm not quite relieved, but pleasantly surprised. Oftentimes they have a flaw or two that sort of sets them apart, but this is actually a really coherent package, and I'm happy. I'm happy to spend some time on it.
Yeah, I'm glad this is as good as it is. It's a little bit of a surprise because we've driven almost all of Nissan's lineup lately, And it's interesting to get into this because it's different, it's fresher, it's newer, it's a very tight, crisp, nice overall package. So,
Absolutely.
if only I had another 200 horsepower.
You could say that about a lot of cars. You'd have a lot of front wheel spin.
You would, yeah. The SERR.
The Honda 4Rs.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, guys, well, that's going to wrap it up for this one. Thanks for watching. Check out Charlie's channel, Daily Motor, and also we're going to be posting some videos on the Winding Road YouTube channel on this as well. So if you want all this without talking, just the ASMR experience, head on over to that. Until then, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys later.